When you start a new Pokemon game, no matter the generation, the very first route you see will always have one of these. A seemingly useless normal type Pokemon with low stats and nothing remarkable, except from generations 1 to 5, they had a purpose. These bad boys can pack so many HMs, every player carried one of them just to push rocks and cut trees. The HM slaves.
Oh, hell no, man. What the?
We have one adorable boy for each generation. Rattata, Furret, Zigzagoon, Bidoof, and, often forgotten but not any less unremarkable, Patrat. But today we are not gonna talk about what stupid waterfall they can climb or what hole they can dig, and we are gonna get serious. Which one is the strongest Pokemon in competitive? It's funny actually, making this video I realized that Raticate hasn't been available in the last 2 generations. Thank you, Dexit! Raticate is the first HM slave in the game. It has a surprisingly decent speed of 97, and that's about anything good you can say about it. It's got terrible HP, terrible defenses, non-existent special attack, and a pretty mediocre attack of 81. Raticate, however, does have a couple interesting things going for it. It has Guts, which is one of the best abilities in the game. If Raticate gets burned, and you can guarantee a burn with Flame Orb, of course, you are gonna get 50% more attack. Of course, like we are gonna hear across the entire video, you have no doubt, normal type is an atrocious type in competitive. But for once, being a normal type is an advantage. Guts is gonna boost your attack when you get burned, and Facade is gonna double in power when you are burned. So you take a move of 70 base power, you multiply it by 2, then you add 50%, and then you add another 50% because you got normal stab. You end up with a Facade that hits for 315 base. That's literally more powerful than Explosion. Of course, a pitiful 80 attack is not gonna blow anything away, but hey, you know, if you Terra normal, you can actually two-shot a Dondoso. I think that's pretty impressive. And if Facade was of literally any other type in the game, it would be the most broken move ever, but being normal, not being able to hit anything super effectively, while also not hitting ghosts at all, is really crap. Raticate does have access to Super Fang, which is pretty cool. It's like Ruination, it cuts the enemy HP in half. It also has access to Swords Dance, which would lead you to believe that Raticate maybe has a decent use as a wall breaker, but you are wrong. Raticate is so pathetically fragile that even a wall would kill it very easily. And remember that Steel and Rock resist Facade and Ghost are immune, of course, so it is not like Raticate can consistently break walls. Raticate cannot even learn Earthquake to deal with Steel and Rock, which would be an option I guess, but it doesn't have it. And as such, unsurprisingly, as much as I was surprised when I realized it hasn't been in the game for 2 generations, the reason I just realized now is because why the hell would I ever try to get a Raticate? To learn Cut and Strength, that's why. In the second generation, we get by far one of the most iconic Pokemon in the game. Sure, it is a meme, but memes are not only dreams, they are real, and we are talking about good old Furret. Why would a flying squirrel evolve into a Furret? I don't know, maybe Pirate Software knows. The community adopted Furret as the unofficial mascot of Pokemon for no other reason than it looks really chill when he walks. But will that chill attitude translate into competitive success? Let's see, Furret has a speed of 90 and an HP of 85, with everything else being a special brand of terrible. A defense of 64 is not gonna make it survive much, and to make matters even worse, Furret has no ability. One of his abilities is literally running away. Because of this magical combination of terrible stats and no ability, Furret has never quite found a niche in competitive. Of course, many players tried, but in this generation he got something kinda cool. Tidy Up is a move that gives you speed and attack like Dragon Dance, but it also removes every hazard from the field. So Furret has something unique, as it can remove hazards with the only move that isn't blocked by Golden Go. And that's definitely something. Not worth taking a Furret for it, but it is something. It also gets Trick, so maybe you can Trick as Choice Scarf or something. Furret has access to decent priority with Sucker Punch, and it also gets Super Fang, but I am afraid one or even two Tidy Ups aren't gonna do anything impressive. You are not gonna sweep a team with two Tidy Ups. I feel, however, that if you pointed a gun at me and told me to pick either Raticate or Furret, and for whatever reason you would not pull the trigger no matter how many times I begged you to pull the trigger, I would choose Furret. Both are useless and they are not gonna do anything, but at least Furret can, in theory, remove hazards. That's more than Raticate. Not good, I'm afraid. However, by the time we get to Gen 3, we start seeing some potential. Kind of. Linoone is Furret's arch nemesis, and for whatever reason it is also not in Gen 9, even though it was in Gen 8, but Linoone follows the same theme of terrible stats and decent speed. Linoone gets a decent ability in Gluttony, which makes it eat berries at 50%, and you might think for a minute, why would that ever matter? And that's because Linoone has one thing going for it. You see, Linoone is a rather unique Pokemon, as it has the rare combination of Belly Drum, Normal type Stab, and Extreme Speed. Belly Drum cuts your HP in half and gives you max attack. That's literally quadruple attack. And Extreme Speed is the best priority move in the game. It gets before almost anything, and it hits for a base 80, which is pretty decent. Since Linoone has Gluttony, he can Belly Drum and immediately eat a Fiji berry to get HP back, and after that it can just do Extreme Speed and will be able to one-shot so many Pokemon it has no business one-shotting. Of course, a wall is gonna be a problem, ghosts are gonna be a problem, rock and steel are gonna be a problem, but everybody else is gonna have a really hard time dealing with this. You know, like if you got an aggressive team like a Hyper Offense, you can make a good argument that Linoone is gonna destroy Hyper Offense. Linoone has the choice of taking two more moves. He's probably not gonna use them ever because it is way too slow for that. The entire point of this build is to not invest anything on speed because you get extreme speed anyway, so maybe if you get against a wall and you're gonna get hard walled, you might as well throw a Thunder Wave or something and die, but that's pretty much it. It's a silly strategy, very cheesy, and you are never gonna use it in a serious game, but at least Linoone has a chance to be useful. As a matter of fact, if you can believe this, in Gen 3, Linoone has seen a little bit of success in competitive play, because the power level is a lot lower and that damage is really good. Bidoof. Well, it is Bidoof. I mean, Bidoof has one thing that all the other Pokemon are never gonna have in this list, and that's something really, really important. Bidoof evolves into Bibarel, and Bibarel is normal and water. And not being a normal type is the best thing that could ever happen to a normal type. Bibarel happens to be the ultimate HM slave, as it can learn damn near everything, including Waterfall, Surf and Dive, but that's unrelated. Bibarel has three really good abilities, if you can believe that. Simple is gonna double every stat boost, Unaware ignores the enemy stat boosts, and Moody boosts a random stat by 2 stages every turn at the cost of reducing a different stat by 1 stage. Bibarel's stats are the worst so far, with everything under 80 except attack at a whopping 85. That sounds as threatening as your mom eating pasta, which is a shame because Simple and Source Dance combined can hit really, really hard. It gets Liquidation for really good water stab, and it gets Aqua Jet for priority, and it also gets double edge for normal stab. And hey, I believe that if Bibarel could get extreme speed, it would have even been a decent pick in OU for real. But he didn't. So Bibarel is slow and fragile and has all the damage in the world if you give it a free turn, but after that free turn it's not gonna be able to hit anything anyway because it's gonna die. However, there was a brief time in competitive when Bidoof got so broken it led to an entire competitive clause made for it, and that's still in effect to this day. This is not a joke. The Moody clause bans the Moody ability. Why? Because back in Generation 5, Moody could raise evasion. That means there was a chance that Bibarel could get a 50% chance to dodge everything, and of course, if it was a lot harder to hit, it could just sit there with Moody turn over turn and keep amassing buffs until it became immortal. The Moody ability doesn't raise evasion anymore, but it still remains banned in competitive singles to this day for being too random and unfair. I guess it is not relevant anymore, but the concept of Smogon having to write an entire law because of freaking Bidoof is way too funny for me to gloss over. Overall, however, Bibarel could at least pack a decent Aqua Jet, and that's something, I guess. Finally, we go over Patrat, the Generation 5 HM slave. Patrat evolves into Watchog, which is somehow with worse stats than even Bibarel. It has 69 on both defense and special defense. I mean, we can say that's pretty cool. But it has a terrible HP of 60, which means it's not gonna tank anything at all anyway. It has a speed of 77, which isn't exactly gonna be racing in NASCAR. For once, being slow is gonna work in its advantage, as Watchog's ability are gonna make it do 30% more damage if it moves last. And it will move last. 30% more damage would be crazy good, but this is an attack of 85 we are talking about, so it still sucks. And just like I said many times before, Watchog is slow and fragile, which is the bad combination you cannot have in the game. On top of that, its moveset is straight garbage, and the closest thing to an attack it can get is knockoff and low kick. When Smogon recommends that you take Seed Bomb on a normal type, you know you are cooked. Look, I wish I could sit here and yap about Patrat and literally anything it can do, but like, there is nothing. There is not even a novelty strategy or a stupid cheese that doesn't work, nothing, not even that. Watchog is straight up useless. Now sure, yeah, those Pokemon were never supposed to be strong, they are early game Pokemon, that's why they look silly and harmless in the first place. They are supposed to make your playthrough convenient, they are supposed to help you do the mechanics of the game, and they are not for combat. And it would be really weird if they put the strongest monsters at the start of the game. That sounds kinda stupid, but we have shown today, at least a little, that some HM slaves can be good. It's time for a first in this channel, folks. We are gonna rank them, okay? We have the bottom tier, that's gonna be tier D, and I gotta say that's gonna be Watchog. I was too lazy to even find a Watchog sprite. That's how useless it is. It doesn't even deserve a sprite, so you get a Patrat instead. So go there in tier D and stay there, you scum of the earth. Very well, we gotta talk about tier C, a tier above Watchog, but pretty unremarkable, and that's gonna be our buddy Raticate. You know, I meant it. When I said I was gonna take Furret over Raticate, I really meant it. Like, Furret at least can remove hazards, so even though they are both terrible, you know, and not even that much better than Watchog, at least Furret can remove hazards. And that's something, you know. It might even be a decent pick in some lower tier as a hazard Pokemon, I can see it, you know. Like, there is a tiny microscopical chance of some potential in Furret, and that's more than Raticate and Patrat are ever gonna get, so that's gonna be B tier. And now we have the real ranking here, okay? This is two good candidates. The one that broke the freaking game in Generation 5, and this guy can hit his belly really hard or something. So how are we gonna break this down? Now, Moody is illegal, but we are gonna assume that Moody is legal for the sake of this video, because, you know, like, if a Pokemon is too good, it gets banned, that means it's good, right? That's what we are trying to rank here. But Moody doesn't give you evasion anymore, so that's the one broken aspect of Moody that's gone. It's still illegal. Broken doesn't always mean that it's too good. Moody got banned because it is random, because it is luck-based, and it is anti-competitive. It's not banned for being too good, you know? Objectively, Moody Bibarel is trash. You know, if you're gonna play seriously, assuming that Moody is legal, you would still go for simple and the Source Dance set. So no, I am not going to take Moody into consideration anyway. But both Linoone and Bibarel got something that the three others don't. And that's simple, they have priority, so even though they are glass and they are gonna die to anything like everybody else, at least they have a chance to get their damage off before dying, and that's something. You got a triple Source Dance Bibarel, you know, with an Aqua Jet, and that's water damage, that's pretty good. But that is a 40 base attack, and Linoone has extreme speed with an 80 base attack. So even though Bibarel has the much better typing profile for the damage, Aqua Jet is not gonna compete with extreme speed, it's just not. Also, Linoone gets a quadruple attack boost and Bibarel only gets a triple attack boost. You could put, I forgot the name, the water droplet thingy that gives you 20% more water damage, because you could get that item instead. That could give you a little bit of potential, or a focus sash. You could get a focus sash, I guess, but no. No. If I have to take one of these Pokemon, you know, and I am not dead, I'm gonna take Linoone. It's just better. You know, I can maybe see Linoone working, potentially, theoretically. The other four, not even theoretically, man. But here you go, this is the ultimate tier list for the HM slaves. I kinda had a lot of fun making this video. Maybe we can talk about something else next time, like the early game fishes, or the normal flying birds in every route, or the Caterpie clones. We got some material in here. Now, you subscribe and leave a like, or I'm gonna throw Furret into D tier, okay? I am serious, I mean it.